Well, welcome everybody to the February 2025 AACE-CSRA section meeting. Today we have a very skilled and entertaining speaker for you, Kaci Prouty. She is a trained facilitator, certified emotional intelligence coach, certified workshop facilitator, and a nationally certified administrative professional. Kaci is a gifted speaker that has taught EI, emotional intelligence skills, for over 7 years, and we are very pleased to have her join us tonight. So with that, Kaci, take it away.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So, like you said, my name is Kaci Prouty. I'm excited to be here to talk a little bit on a different side of things for y'all's group. So we're going to talk a little bit about emotional intelligence. You can go to the slide, Brad, or to the next one. You can go to the next one. There she be. So, who am I and why am I here? My name is Kaci Prouty. I'm a senior administrative assistant for SRNS and assistant to the director of project controls. As Brad said, I'm a certified emotional intelligence coach. I'm also a certified workshop facilitator. I am a nationally certified administrative professional. And I have been doing emotional intelligence and soft skills in some capacity for roughly 7 years. And have been a public speaker for roughly 2 years and am moving that direction. But I also have a podcast that we put out a couple years ago too. So I am excited to share new information with all of y'all. You can go to the next one. So just a couple of objectives. So we're going to define what emotional intelligence is, because it's not a common thing. Understand emotional intelligence and some of the traits and the personalities that go along with those. Determine the benefits and the impact of emotional intelligence in the workplace and strategies that you can use to strengthen it along the way. And leave, hopefully, with valuable tools that will help you advance both in your career and within the teams that you are a part of. So some of the first studies on emotional intelligence were actually conducted by Harvard. They were sending some of their best students out into the workforce, but these students were not being successful. So, like the university that they are, they researched it and found that there were 3 key factors to what was included in success for their students. The first being IQ. Duh, it's kind of a no-brainer. The second being technical skills. So being a designer or an engineer, those skills that you learn within those degrees. But the third was an emotional skill set that a lot of these students lacked that went into success within their workforce. The other surprising thing is that IQ and technical skills both only really account for about 20% of what was making their students successful. So 80% of that was this emotional skill set. And that emotional skill set is something that has long since been forgotten and is also not taught very much of today in the digital and technology age that we live in. So we live in a world of text messages, instant messages, emails, and all the things. And so a lot of these soft skills and this emotional skill set is being lost in translation, especially as the generations come after us. You can go to the next one, Brad. So all this is fine and well and good, but what is it? So Webster defines emotional intelligence as the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, and to be able to handle those interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. People like me say it's the ability to recognize, understand, and regulate the emotions of both yourself and those around you. Okay, that's all fine and well and great. How does this benefit you? What does it mean? So, emotional intelligence is broken down into 4 core competencies: self-awareness, how I'm feeling; self-management, how I choose to handle that; social awareness, how others around me feel or may be feeling; and relationship management, how I choose to handle that. So, if you work in a team full of people, and it's important to understand that how you view yourself in the mirror every day may not be how other people view you from the outside. So, as an example, I was a cheerleader for 15 years, so y'all forgive me because I'm very animated and all the things. At the same time, that's how I view myself every day. I have a 9-year-old son. I'm a single mom. Cheerleading is what we do, regardless of in what capacity, whether it be for him playing basketball, whether it be for me doing something that I enjoy. So being happy and being a cheerleader and being the woohoo girl is how I've always been, and that's what I know about myself. But somebody who doesn't know me, depending on what day you catch me in the office, you could get different personalities, right? So if I am focused on a task, and most people who work with me know my back faces my doorway. I have a little mirror next to me so that I can see if somebody walks up behind me, but my back faces the doorway. And if I'm focused on a task and I am hyper focused on it and somebody comes up behind me and breaks that concentration, you may get a look that blatantly tells you that you interrupted said focus. It's not intentional, it's just how it comes off. Some of us have been told that, you're intimidating. You scared me whenever I first met you, right? Like, I was terrified of you. I love my boss to death. I was terrified of her when I first met her. I know her now. I speak her language well. I know what different things mean. But in the beginning, she was intimidating. And so it's important to understand that the way you view yourself may not always be the same as how somebody else views you, whether that be positive or negative. There are different things that go into understanding emotional intelligence. There are different personalities for both high and low emotional intelligence. Neither is bad, neither is wrong. There are just different spectrums. And emotional intelligence is a wide spectrum of those personalities. So this is the emotional intelligence compass. There are 4 main personality types that are part of the emotional intelligence compass. So our first ones are our drivers. These are the get it done, strong-willed, decisive, quick to take action. They're very results oriented. So they want to dive right in head first and just go do now, right? You have your analytical personalities. These are our logical and very fact-based, more reserved personalities. These people are good at planning, problem solving. They make decisions with a lot of second thought, and they pay attention to the details of a project, right? Then we have our expressives. So these are our big picture people. They're outgoing, enthusiastic, persuasive. They're known for their innovation and big ideas. And they are focused more on the outcome versus the detail of a project. So they're focused on the overall big picture and what that outcome and that result is. Then you have your amiables. So these are your friendly, very pleasant mannered. They're very active in sharing their concern for other people. They're sympathetic and people focused. we avoid conflict as much as possible. We try to make sure that everybody is seen, heard, and valued, and that they feel such. We are the people of a project. So we're not as concerned with the details or the results or the analytics that go into a project. We are concerned about making sure everybody involved in that project is involved, feels involved, and feels that they are adding value to that. So the importance of understanding where you fall on this compass is because all of these personalities come with both strengths and weaknesses. So I don't know if they have a way to do a show of hands in the chat, but if you are a driver, I don't know if there's a way. If you're a driver, so my boss is a driver. We'll use Shannon as an example because she's always my example. And so my boss is a driver. I am an amiable. There are things that we work well on together, and there are reasons that we work well together. She is very, go do it now, get it done, go to the end, dive in the deep end. And I am very, well, we haven't heard from X, Y, and Z yet. So she's very good at speeding me up and saying, nope, you gave them ample time, you gave them a deadline, they didn't participate, we move on without their opinion. But I'm also very good at slowing her down just a little bit and saying, well, wait just a minute and let me follow up because either they weren't here or they had this going on or whatever. Right? So it's important to understand where you fall on this compass. It is also important to understand that with those strengths and weaknesses is what makes your team function as a whole. Could you work on a team of 10 of yourself? I could not. And I don't know if you can imagine a team of 10 amiable folks. We would not get anything done. We would be having a therapy session or a kumbaya every other hour, and the projects would be pushed off a little bit because we would be more concerned about how everybody else was feeling about what they're working on and what they brought into the office with them, right? So it's important to understand that there's a reason that teams function the way that they do based on personality types, because what may be my weakness may be somebody else's strength, right? I am not a salesperson. I know this about myself. I wouldn't make a good one. I wouldn't make any money, and I know that. I know people who can sell ice to an Eskimo in the middle of December. That is not me, because I know that if I come to your office and I have a product and I'm trying to sell it and I sit down and give you my spiel and say, this is what I have, this is why it's great, and this is why I think you should use it. And you look at me and say, meh, I'm not really interested. I'm going to look at you and go, thank you so much for your time. Have a great day. And I'm going to leave. And I'm probably not going to follow up with you next week. And I'm probably not going to call you the week after, because my brain says that if you said you're not interested, I need to leave you alone because you are not interested, right? Because I function on feeling. I also am the queen of overanalyzing and worst case scenarios. So my brain immediately says that you're probably already annoyed. Now, I have been a part of multiple MLMs over the years. I'm sure many people know people who have been part of the MLM world. I failed miserably at every one of them. Why? Because I am not a salesperson and I know that. But what is the first thing that somebody in an MLM tells you? But you don't have to sell. The products sell themselves. So what did I do? I sat and I waited for them to do that. Because I am not the person that's going to be in your inbox next week. I'm not going to try to get you to host a party, join my team, or send this out to everybody you know. That is not me. It's not what I do. I know what that feels like, and I know if it annoys me, it annoys other people, and I am not that person. I know people who have done very, very well in MLMs. I am not one of them because I am an amiable person, because I care about what the other person on the other side thinks about what I'm saying, what I'm doing, or what I'm trying to sell you. And that affects how I do things. I know that about myself. So it's important to understand where you fall, why you fall there, and what the strengths and weaknesses are. Now, if I go to Charles's office, Charles, you're one of my analyticals, so I'm using you as an example. But if I go to Charles's office, Charles is very analytical. I'm very amiable. We can both tell you why it is hard to work with the other type. So, you being an analytical, what is one of the hardest things it is to work with me? He wants more detail about what he's doing. I want more detail about how he feels about what he's doing. They are two completely different conversations. Our conversations go in two different directions. But at the same time, I know that I am not an analytical mind. That is not how my brain functions. So when I get something where I have to analyze data, I know at that point I can take it to Charles and say, this is what I see. This is how I understand it. Can you look at it and give me a different point of view? That is how his brain functions. That is why we work well together. But that is also why we don't. So it's important to understand where you fall and where other people on your team may fall on this compass. Because understanding your teammates, understanding the people who report to you if you are in leadership, is going to give you a little bit more understanding on how to work best with those people. It gives you more insight into how to make your teams more cohesive. Because again, what one person's strength may be somebody else's weakness, and not just leadership and people who report to you and employees on your team, but as a one whole cohesive team. If I know that somebody else falls in a different personality type, I know when I come across those things that I can go to them. That's their strength. That's what they do best. They can show me or explain to me why they do the things that they do, why and how they understand it different than I do. It's a different perspective, and it gives you the opportunity to see all of those different things and understand it a different way. So instead of being a leader who says, we're doing this because I said we're doing it, because I said we're doing it, right? Everybody knows somebody like that. We've all worked for people like that at some point in our life, right? Nobody gives you the why or the how. And so on the other end, we're thinking, well, why are we doing that if we could do X, Y, and Z instead? And so it's important to understand this person's point of view. I made the decision I made because of X, Y, and Z, so that you understand that your perspective, it wouldn't have worked that way, or why we didn't do it that way, or why we got the answer that we got, or why we made the decision that we made. So understand where you fall, but also where those around you fall. You can go to the next one, Brad. So how is this going to benefit you in the workplace? So emotional intelligence helps you to identify your individual strengths and weaknesses and to take action to improve on both of those skills. Again, understanding where you fall on that compass. It helps you be better at communicating with others, understanding different perspectives, which leads to better collaboration and interpersonal relationships, both within your team and those that you collaborate with outside. It helps to navigate more empathetically. A lot of people associate the word empathetic with weakness, and it is not the same thing. It's not the word, it is not the same thing. Empathetic just means I understand your perspective. I may not have been in your shoes, I may not understand the situation, but that just means I'm trying to understand your perspective based on the situation that we have in front of us. So for the big picture, folks, emotional intelligence is crucial, and it's a crucial skill that can greatly impact both your personal and professional growth. By understanding and managing our emotions, we can navigate challenges more effectively and build strong relationships with those that are around us. You can go to the next one. So, emotional intelligence is a learned skill. This is the good news. So, I just got done coaching a team of 9, 8, and 9-year-old boys for basketball. Now, I don't know nothing about basketball. I was a cheerleader for 15 years. But these boys were young enough that they didn't know that I didn't know what I was doing. So, the thing with basketball, even at this age, so they had evaluations at the beginning of the season to see where everybody fell whenever it came to those crucial skills that were required to play the game. And then we as coaches, God help us all, had to draft them based on the scores that they got in those evaluations. So I had probably 3 that could probably be pro ball players tomorrow, which is insane at 9 years old, but it was incredible to watch. And then we had a couple that had played for a year or 2 and kind of knew those basic fundamentals. And then we had a couple who had never played before, and I'm pretty sure I had one who had never touched a basketball. But they were all on my team, and it was my job as their coach to grow that in them. We have a short season. We play City League rec ball. So it's a short season. But over the course of that season, it is my job to grow those skills. They are learned skills. I can teach you how to dribble a ball correctly and make it to where that is the habit. I can teach you how to shoot the ball or pass the ball or whatever the play may be. I can teach you those things. Those are learned skills. Emotional intelligence is the same thing. So if you're not satisfied with where you fall on the spectrum or what personality type you fall under, it can be changed. You can grow emotional intelligence.
Are you interested in questions along the way? We have a couple in the
Sure.
chat.
Yeah.
Okay. And this was relative to your prior slides.
Okay.
Is it possible a person has multiple personalities and switch between them, or always is a dominant personality to be?
So it's a little bit of both. So most everybody has one primary personality that they normally fall under. It is extremely common to have bits and pieces of other personalities, and that you lean on or lean towards those sides in different scenarios. But most of the time, there is one primary personality that you revert back to at the end of the day. So I'm an amiable, but there are scenarios where I have to engage when Charles is not around. I have to engage my analytical mind. And so you lean more towards that side, but then you usually always revert back to one personality.
Thank you. That question was from Ruth Rodriguez.
Sure.
And Manon Vakil asks, what is the best or average time span to learn other teammates' emotional intelligence for more productive team?
So there's a couple of different answers. So you can do a team building exercise and or a workshop similar to the one that I offer to our project controls team. And that kind of gives you an idea. If you do it as a team, kind of gives you an idea where everybody falls. You can simply ask. Or if you're in leadership and you're trying to learn your team, it's really just kind of based on how you perceive things as to how long it will take you to learn your team. It's obviously going to be a little bit harder if you have virtual teammates or people that you don't work closely with on a daily basis. Those take a little bit longer kind of to cultivate. And again, these can change. So if somebody's an amiable today, I'm an amiable, I know it. If I don't like that, then I can take the steps to change that. But as leaders, it really kind of depends on you and your relationship with your team as to how long it can take you to kind of learn who's what and who falls where. And it just depends on which kind of approach you choose to take with that. So there is an emotional intelligence quiz, I think, so to speak. I haven't found a lot of free ones out there. It's one of the ones that I haven't found that offer the free version. There is a book that I have used for years. It's Emotional Intelligence 2.0. They also now have the same authors have put out Emotional Intelligence Team 2.0, I believe. And so those two resources do usually come with the personality test that comes with them. There are some free personality tests, but not any that relate really kind of back to emotional intelligence. But there are options out there for like tests and quizzes and that kind of thing, similar to the DISC profile and that kind of stuff.
Can you use the mic, Charles?
Oh, sure. Well, I was just trying to help glom onto what he was asking in terms of how do you find out, and really just yeah from Anon, and it's really a lot of the tools. And so for us in particular, we used the DISC profiles, which kind of map very similar, but not quite the same to what you have in the Compass. So I'm from our own personal experience, I'd say if you can get one of these other tools, even if it isn't the books, if you are able to then translate that into an emotional intelligence sort of framework, it does seem like it has a pretty good fit.
So a lot of the ones that are out there, like there's the DISC profile, there's the Myers-Briggs profile. There's also a True Colors profile that does like your color personality. Those kind of, and I know that you can usually get a free version of those. Those kind of will kind of guide you into kind of where you may fall based on the emotional intelligence compass if you can't get the more of a free version of that quiz. I haven't found any that really relate the same way to the compass, but there are some that are very similar.
No, that was the last question in the
Okay.
chat so far. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I spoke too soon. We've started something here. So Ruth Rodriguez asked for a large group with by sure we have it all. What do you recommend for the awareness and for growth?
So that's actually what we're getting into next. There are steps to A, recognize, and B, to grow both emotional intelligence for you and those around you. So that's actually what's coming next.
Perfect. You ready for the next slide?
Yes.
All right, here we go. You can change it.
So the first step to building your emotional intelligence always comes back to self. So you can't change anything until you're willing to look inward first. A lot of people don't like that answer, and a lot of people don't like introspection. So this is not always the best first step for a lot of people, but nothing else can change until you decide to look inward, right? So some steps for kind of self-management. There's your stereotypical like breathe through it, and that works for some people when you're in a stressful situation. It's important to understand how you first respond to stress and stressful situations. Everybody does not respond the same. I don't My son and I, as close as we are with a lot of things, we respond to stress very, very differently. Shannon and I respond very, very differently to stressful situations, right? I am more of an outward emotional person when I am stressed. It is not hard to tell when I'm stressed and overwhelmed. Shannon is more of the kind of brick wall, shut down, I got to get this done type personality when she's stressed. So it's important to understand first how you handle stressful situations and how you handle the overwhelm. But you can breathe through it, you can sleep on it. You know, those are two that's usually always given to you to start with. Take control of your self-talk. And believe me, every time I give this and I get to this one, I'm talking to myself every single time too. This is not just something I'm preaching to y'all. This is something I have to work on. But what you say to yourself affects everything else you do. So if you get up in the morning and look in the mirror and the first thing that you say to yourself is, God, this is going to be an awful day, or I can't believe I have to go to work today, right? You're already setting the precedent. By the time you get to work, you're already not wanting to be there, and you've already told yourself you don't want to be there, and you've already told yourself that today's going to be a bad day, and so you're just willing it to happen because you've already told your body that it's going to be a bad day, and your body's going to respond to that. So take control of your self-talk first. Visualize yourself succeeding. There's a reason that people make vision boards. There is a reason that they are successful for some people. If you know that you have goals and you know that you want to change things, or you know that you want to do something different, right? People set goals for themselves all the time. I want to travel here. I want to buy a house, or I want to get married, or whatever. We have a vision board that has like a bride and a house and, a country and a thing. There's a reason that people tell you to make a vision board. Some people visualize that way. And that is how they internalize too. And a vision board can also help direct your self-talk. So they tie in together. So visualize yourself succeeding. If you keep telling yourself, I'm never going to get anywhere, then you're never going to get anywhere because you've already accepted that you're not going to get anywhere. Now you're telling yourself you're not going to get anywhere. And so you're naturally and subconsciously not going to do anything that's going to get you any farther than you are because you've already told yourself you're not going anywhere. Speak to somebody who is not emotionally invested in the situation or scenario. Go to somebody and say, this is the situation that I have. This is how I think. This is what I see. This is how I understand it. Give them the scenario and the facts that you have and say, what does this look like to you? How do you see this? What would you do if this was you? How would you handle this, right? Go get that separate perspective, but from somebody who's not emotionally invested. So I can call my mom tomorrow and say, I am so stressed. I'm so annoyed. This is my situation. This is my scenario, right? She's my mom. She's emotionally invested almost 40 years into my life. So her perspective is going to be different than somebody who's on the outside. How many times have you been told, I'm on the outside looking in, and I'm trying to just explain to you that this is how things look? Right? And this is another scenario of how you come across to yourself and the way that you think may not be how you're coming across to everybody else. I think I'm dealing with this situation when to everybody else, I look like a whole hot mess because I don't deal with stress well. So go to somebody who's not invested in that situation and get an outside perspective outside of your own emotional reaction. Learn a valuable lesson from everybody you encounter. I did not say a positive one. I said learn a valuable lesson. Everybody that you encounter, you take something valuable away from, even if it happens to be, I know I don't need to spend any more time in the same room as that person. It's not always bad. You know that that is not valuable to you. We all know those people who walk into a room and you can feel the energy of the room drain down. You know that. Take something valuable from that encounter, even if it is, in order for my mental health to be okay, I know that I don't need to be around this person. I know I don't need to go to this place. I know I don't need to spend time doing this. Take something valuable from everybody that you encounter. Everybody that you talk to, there's a reason. And everybody that you talk to and encounter via virtually or whether it's in person has something of value for you, right? You really wouldn't be talking to people if they didn't, right? We don't talk to our friends because we get nothing from them, right? I don't go over to Charles's Cube and hope that he's not on a call so that I can ask him a question because I don't want a valuable answer. So everybody that you talk to has something of value for you. Mentally recharge in your day. This is important, especially for my office folks. So a lot of us are in an office, at a desk. I'm guilty. I know, again, I preach to myself, not just y'all. Whenever we are in the office, I have over 20 years of administrative experience. A lot of my jobs have been at a desk, in an office, or in a cube, or all of the above. It is extremely important for both your physical and your mental health to get up and walk away. I'm bad about it, I know, calling myself out at the same time. A lot of us work 8, 10, 12 hours a day, sometimes longer, depending on what you do, where you do it, and what your schedule looks like. And a lot of us are guilty of eating at our desk. I am. I take a call. I know you are too. So are you. I take a call while I'm eating lunch, while I'm also trying to do something else. At some point in the day, after a prolonged period of time, you need to walk away because you need to mentally recharge and reset. And a lot of us don't take the time to do that. But we also don't understand the impact that it is having on that emotional side of our brain and how it's impacting everybody around you as well, because it does, even if you don't notice at the time. So take the time in your day to walk, even if it's 5 minutes, walk away from what you're doing, let your brain reset, and then go back to doing what you were doing to begin with. You can go to the next one. Yeah, there it is. So the next one is, these are out of order. Relationship management. So when you're dealing with other people and you're trying to figure out who's what and who's where and how can I help this person, because everybody does have personalities. Some people are like me and they want to know that people actually do care about the fact that they're not okay today. There are some people who are not like me, who don't want anybody in their business and don't want anybody to know nothing that's going on. It's important to know who those humans are and how to help them the best way possible, right? So be open and curious. Ask questions. You're not going to get to know anything about anybody around you if you don't ask those questions. Ask questions about the project that you're working on or something that they're working on that you might not be a part of. Why did you do this way? I understood it this way, and this is the answer that I got, or this is the choice that I made, or whatever the case may be. Why did you see it that way? Or how did you get here from there? Because I went a different way with it and got it to a different place. Ask those questions and be curious. Because if I ask somebody, why did you take this scenario and go this way with it? Because I'm an emotional person, I handle things differently. So I go way left when people usually want to just go straight down the middle and get to the answer that's right over there, right? So why? Ask those why questions. The why behind things is what drives what we do. Our emotions drive the decisions that we make and the results that we get because of them. Enhance your natural communication style. Just like our personalities, everybody communicates best differently. We all know how to communicate in all of the ways: text, Teams, email, phone, whatever. But some people communicate better a different way. I can communicate just fine in text message, but sometimes my text messages come off with a tone that I didn't intend. Why? Because you can't infer tone most of the time via text message. You can if you get a text and you know it's all in caps and it's got 12 exclamation points at the end. Somebody's probably yelling at you. But some people text that way. And I only say that because my grandmother was one of those people. When she first learned how to text, everything she did was in caps. And I said, "Meemaw, you're yelling at me." And she said, "No, I'm not." So it's important to understand how people communicate best. I communicate best in person, talking to you, because you can hear my tone. And because I am an emotional person and I'm also very animated, I communicate better when I am stressed and or when I'm confused or when I'm upset or when I'm excited in person. That's just how I communicate best. So understand how you communicate best and enhance that. Remember that the little things, some of them are big. Again, under different personality types, something that is a big deal to me may be completely insignificant to you. But if it's a big deal to me and it affects my emotional state, it's going to affect the decisions that I make. My son is the same way. If my son is upset about something, he's not going to take a test well, right? I don't either. Because when we get upset, we feel really hard and really big. And so it affects everything that we do. Something that means everything to me may be completely insignificant to the next person. And that person may look at me and go, "Why are you bothered by this? What is wrong with you?" But it's important to understand that just because you don't agree, or just because something doesn't matter as much to you, doesn't mean that it doesn't matter more to somebody else and or affect them in a different way than it will you. So keep that in mind whenever people bring things to you. If they're bringing you a story, or if they're telling you, "This is what I dealt with over the weekend," keep in mind that when you go, okay, and that it's a big deal to somebody else. You got a question?
We have a question
Okay.
from the chat.
Okay.
Ruth asks, is any way to measure caring?
Any way to measure
Caring.
caring?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, measure it. No, that's really kind of on an individual basis. But that also comes down to the fact that, we are caring folks. That also comes down to knowing the personality type of whoever you're talking to, because it may come off as them not caring when in actuality they do. So there's no real way to measure it, so to speak. But you can learn who you're talking to and how they communicate, and then be able to gauge caring from that. So you may be able to understand, okay, this means absolutely nothing to them. But you may also be able to understand that's just how they communicate and that's how they come off. They actually do care, even though it may not seem like they do. So as far as measuring, no, but understanding who you're talking to and how their caring comes across, yes.
Ruth followed up, difficult to evaluate.
Yes, very. So to piggyback on that, take feedback well, learn to take feedback well, and acknowledge others' feelings. So again, those big things that may be big to somebody else that may not be to you, acknowledge the fact that just because we don't agree, I understand that it means something to you. But learn to take feedback well as well. This is something that I still struggle with, probably always will, because I am an amiable, because I care what people think about me. Constructive criticism has always been something that's hard for me to take. I understand that now. I know that about myself, so I've worked on it, and I understand that when somebody says, "Hey, you did a great job on this, but we maybe need to do it this way next time," doesn't mean you're doing it wrong or you did a bad job. When I was younger, that is how I would take it. Any kind of constructive criticism was, "You did bad, we need to do it different, don't do it that way," right? And that's not what people mean. But it took me a very long time to understand that I took constructive criticism as a personal attack. That's how I always took it. And I didn't know how to take it any other way, because that's how it felt. Because I'm an amiable, because I feel. That's how it felt. But I also understand now, through learning this and learning how to change my perspective on things, that is that is feedback, that is notes for me to take, that is information given to me to help me grow. And if I take it not as a personal attack, I can take it and stand on it and use it to grow and continue to grow forward. So that is something that I struggled with. That is something I know a lot of people struggle with. So learn to take that feedback well. And in doing so, that means you have to ask for it. Ask other people. If you don't know how you come off, if somebody asks you, "How do you think you come off to other people?" and you can't answer that question, ask people. But when you ask, you have to be prepared for what they tell you. I want to know if I come off as intimidating to people, but I have to be willing to accept somebody telling me yes when I ask. So you have to be willing to take the answers to those questions, regardless of what that answer is, and use it as feedback for growth and not as a personal attack on yourself, right? So explain decisions, don't just make them. This goes back to when I said the why. Most people in their own way want to know the why behind something, right? We don't just want to, this is a decision we made. This is how it's going to go. Well, okay, but why? Because we can do it this way and still get to the same result. So why are we going to keep doing it that way? And it can't just be because I'm your boss and I said so. That's not a why. So explain your why. That does two things. It makes sure that you understand, it gives your team your perspective and makes sure that you understand actually what you're doing in making the decision that you made, but it also helps your team understand your perspective and your point of view, especially if you're a different personality type. Why are we doing it that way? Well, because this program requires X, Y, and Z, we can't do this because we have to have this first. That's why we can't do it your way. Your way says we don't need any of this, and actually for this to work, we do need this. So explain your whys to your team and make those decisions and include them in those decisions as you explain the why, and then you're more likely to get them on board with the why to be cohesive to move forward down the same path. Make your feedback direct and constructive. Again, that goes back to don't sugarcoat things, but learn your people and give them direct and constructive criticism so that they understand it's not a personal attack, but I'm trying to help you grow, and I can't help you grow unless I tell you exactly what we need to fix or change or tweak or do different or whatever the next time. And tackle those tough conversations. This is a hard one for a lot of managers that I talk to. This is one reason that I know I would not make a good manager, at least right now in the stage of life that I'm in. Because again, I'm an amiable. We avoid conflict. We don't like it. And in avoiding conflict, that means I'm also going to avoid these tough conversations that somebody else needs to have with you, right? Those conversations of, we need to change this, we need to do this different, we need to fix some things, we need to not do that, we need to do this a better way. I don't do confrontation or conflict well, and if I think that a conversation that I'm going to have is going to create some of that, my natural instinct is to back away from that. That's why I know right now I still would not make a good manager, because I don't delegate well and I don't have those tough conversations. Both of those are very hard for me. I'm more of I just would rather do it myself. I don't want to ask anybody for help, because if I have to ask for help, that means I can't do it. And if I can't do it, then management's going to think I can't do it. And I don't want them to think I can't do it. So I have to do it. Right? So I know that those are two places that I struggle with. You can go to the next one. So, oh yeah, these are way out of order. So self-awareness. We'll kind of revert back a little bit to the self-management, but to increase self-awareness, again, you have to start with self. Everything starts with self. You can change whatever you want to, but nothing's going to change until you look inward and change those things first, which will then naturally start to change outward. So to grow your self-awareness, observe the ripple effect of your emotions. This is one of them that I stand on, that I lean on, and I know as an amiable, because I am an emotional person, and now I have a mini human being who's exactly like me, and I've been able to see it firsthand when I created it. Your emotions have a ripple effect, whether they're direct in front of you at the time or whether they're lasting and you can't really see them at the time. Think about what happens when you throw a rock in the middle of a lake. It hits right there in the middle of the lake, and then it ripples out. At the same time that these ripples are happening, that rock is steady sinking to the bottom. Well, while that rock is sinking to the bottom, it can't see these ripples. Think about that as a leader. Think about being on a team and your manager comes out, especially us, we work in the middle of cubicles, right? So if a manager comes out and cherry picks an employee and just reams them in the middle of the floor in front of their coworkers, in front of other supervisors, about something that they did wrong, about something that we have to fix, or about why did you do this? What ripple effect does that create? You now have a whole team of people that are like, okay, how do I stay off of their radar? I don't want to be next. I don't want that to happen to me. this ripples out, and then what happens? The ripple of that team hits another team, and then you've got people who know that they don't want to come work for that person because they might chew you out in the middle of that floor, and it ripples all the way out. Everything that you do touches those that are involved in your life, and it is important, both personally and professionally, to understand how your emotions affect your decisions, which affect those around you. And I feel like that is such a cliche, and I've grown up being preached that everything you do affects everybody else in your life too. But it is the truth. Your emotions drive your decisions, and those decisions affect anybody that's involved with you, whether directly or indirectly. Question?
Yeah, from the chat,
Mhm.
Ruth asks, how does the word happiness engage in all the things you just explained? Is that what we are pursuing to do at the end, or are we trying to a human, fill out a human pride nature?
So, in looking inward, it's important to understand what makes you happy, right? Because your emotions drive your decisions. If you're doing something that makes you happy, your decisions are going to reflect that. So we will always revert back to looking inward first, figuring out what makes you happy. Because if everybody knows, everybody's had a job that they absolutely cannot stand at some point in their life. Your alarm goes off and you immediately dread going to work, right? Nobody wants to get up and get dressed and go to a job that they absolutely cannot stand, but we've all done it and we know how that affects what we do. If I don't want to be here and y'all give me something I don't want to do, it's going to be obvious in the work that I produce. So reverting back and looking inward and saying, what makes me happy? What do I want to do? And how can I direct myself and my path to get to where I know I would be happy? Because that is going, again, to affect those decisions. And then you start producing work that looks like you're happy about what you do versus the opposite. I'm not sure if that answered the question that she was asking
I don't know either.
as far as happiness
She
goes.
said yes.
Beautiful. So in trying to grow that self-awareness, it is important to know who and what pushes your buttons. We all have those people, places, and things that we try to avoid. Why? Because they push our buttons and we don't like it. It is important to understand what your triggers are. What is going to push you over the edge? What is going to make you overwhelmed? What is going to make you angry? Because all of those emotions make you make decisions based on how you feel. So it is important to understand who and what pushes your buttons, and then to go and understand why you do the things that you do. Take a day, and I tell everybody this, and some people I know have done it, and they're slightly surprised at the results they get. Take a day and analyze everything that you do. Why do I do things in this order? Why do I take this route to work? Why do I do this before I do that? When I get to work, why do I do this first? Why do I make this decision? Every decision that you make in 24 hours, ask yourself, why did I do that? And understand why you did it. And it could just be as simple as I take this route to work every day because this is the quickest way to get there. I don't have to go through school traffic. It's actually shorter. It is what it is. But understanding the why behind the decisions that you make. Why did I do that this way? Because I was angry. I was angry and I made this decision. And when I made this decision, it created this. And this is why you got the result that you got, because I was angry when I made that decision. Adversely, why did I make this decision? I was happy and I was excited and I was ready to do it. And so that's why you got this result versus that one. So analyze everything you do in a day and understand why you make the decisions that you make. That will also help you understand where you fall primarily on that compass. Visit your values. So I always tell people this. It's important to understand what our personal morals and values are, because whether we want to admit it or not, where our morals stand and what we value affect every decision that we make. If you ask me to do something and I go, God, that just doesn't feel right, You're either going to get a really bad result, not that you're looking for because I don't feel like it's right, but you're making me do it anyway, or I'm not going to do it, right? So it's important to understand where your morals and your values fall. And again, seek that feedback, but be ready for the answers when you seek it. But you can't be more self-aware until you start understanding how everybody else views you as well. And know yourself under stress. So this is another one of those important things that I mentioned earlier. It's important to understand how you respond to stress because everybody responds different. You may shut down, but your neighbor may be a hysterical hot mess who has a 9-year-old who's just like her. So it's important to understand how you respond to stress because then you'll understand also how that others respond to stress differently than you, and you be more aware of how that happens. Question?
Actually, just a praise.
Okay.
There are a lot of managers here at SRS that could have benefited a lot from this presentation tonight. Great job and great information, Kaci. And that was from Wanda.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I am actually in the process of trying to offer my workshop to a lot more of the leadership that is on SRS. And so we got a few that are slowly starting to get on board. But I did actually get to present it to the project controls managers, and that had a really good outcome at the end of it too. So we're looking to try to get it in front of more people for that reason. But I appreciate the praise.
Wanda said awesome.
Okay, you can go to the next one. I think there's only one left. Yeah, so social awareness. So understand this is not watching everybody and judging them as they do, right? This is being able, once you have mastered self-awareness, you can start to be more socially aware and understand, and it will help you understand better how other people respond to things and do things. So greet people by name. This is a small thing. And I know a lot of people think it's insignificant, but it's really not. It's important for you because then you start to associate that name with why you're actually talking to them. And that person knows that you remember who they are. And that is important to people. People want to know that, you don't want to shake somebody's hand and say, it's nice to meet you. And they say, well, you've actually met me 3 times already. Like, we've had conversation. You don't want that to happen. So greet people by name. It helps you remember their name, and it makes them know that you know who they are, which is important in general. Watch your body language. This is something that you hear all the time, but nobody really kind of pays attention to. So one of the big ones is this. They tell you not to stand with your hands crossed. It's very off-putting and it's very, shut down. I'm very animated, so this just doesn't work for me anyway. And if I didn't have hands, I don't know that I'd be able to talk if you cut mine off. So watch your body language. You'll notice certain things when you talk to certain people, and I've seen it, which is why I say that. You talk to certain people and you see them kind of lean back from you if you're sitting at a table, or they'll kind of lean over and then they'll cross their hands, right? We all know that the body language speaks a whole lot louder than the words that you're saying. I could tell you that I love you all day long, but if I'm sitting here going, I love you, we know that I may love you, but I'm really annoyed at the very least with you at that point, right? So just kind of be very mindful of your body language. Clear away the clutter, both mental clutter, it does exist, it is a thing, and physical clutter. A lot of times physical clutter, especially visual clutter. So I'm a visual clutter person. If I see visual clutter, it clouds my brain and it makes my anxiety kind of spur itself and do this number in my head. If you came to my house, you wouldn't know that. But if you came to my job, you would. So come to my cubicle, not to my house. I have a 9-year-old, so there's clutter and toys and all the things. But clear away the clutter. If you know that that's how you function better and you focus better, that is one reason you see very little clutter at my job, because I can't focus on anything if there is just stuff everywhere. And I get to a point where in my brain, even at home, I can be upstairs where it is actually kind of clean and clutter-free, but I know that downstairs, my living room right up under me is a disaster, and I cannot sleep, and it bothers me because there's clutter everywhere and I can't function. So clear away that clutter, and even if you function well in clutter, some people do, and that's how they function, and that's not a bad thing. But at some point, take the time to clear that clutter, either mentally or physically, and reset. Even if that is how you function, everybody needs to reset. It goes back to that mental recharge. Practice the art of listening. So this means, and again, this is where people don't really like my answer. This means listen to understand, don't listen to respond. So listen to who you're talking to understand the situation, the scenario, and what they're saying to you. Don't listen just to form a response to what they're saying. Because everything somebody says to you doesn't necessarily need a response. Some people don't like that answer either. And I'm a talker by nature, so that's really hard for me because I feel like I have to respond and or defend everything that's said to me at some point. So that's something that I also know I have to work on. But also in that feedback, when you ask for that feedback and you get feedback that may or may not be favorable or what you expected, listen to what they're saying to understand what they're saying and where they're coming from and why they feel the way that they feel or why they understand the way that they understand. Don't listen just to form a response to the statement that's being made. Go people watching. Does anybody people watch anymore? Do we do that? Is that a thing? Okay, so I say go people watching. My example is, again, I have a 9-year-old boy who loves to be outside. So we spend a lot of time in the park. Anybody who has kids that goes to the park knows that you see every form of parent on a playground. You have the parents on the bench with their phone. They're looking up. Okay, he's over there, so he's fine, right? You have the helicopter parents who are over top of their kid everywhere they go because they can't be out of 3 feet of them. You have the parents over here who have no idea that their kid is hanging upside down on the jungle gym over there in the back corner. You got parents over here that are talking that haven't seen their kid in 10 minutes. There's every form of parent on a playground. Go people watch. Watch their body language. Listen to the words that they use. Listen to how they parent. Listen to the things that they say. And just listen to those different personalities. It just gives you a different perspective all around. And if you don't have children, go to a park and people watch. I promise. You may only do it one time. You will come away with something from that park when you go. Step into other people's shoes. This is a hard one sometimes for somebody, again, because something that may mean something to me may not mean anything to somebody else. Even if it's not a scenario that you have dealt with personally, step into somebody else's shoes. This comes with also starting to understand those different personalities in the people that you talk to, whether it be at work or at home. I understand that my son is struggling with reading comprehension. That wasn't something that I struggled with in school. But 3rd grade today is nothing what 3rd grade was when I was in 3rd grade, right? I don't understand half of what his homework is to be able to help him, but I know that me not understanding means he doesn't understand even more. But I can at least, because I've been there, I was 9 at one point. It's been some years, but I was 9. But I can at least understand, especially because I know his personality as his mom, I at least can understand his point of view and why he gets as frustrated as he gets. Because I don't get frustrated with the homework side of things, but he does. My brother, on the other hand, who's only a couple years younger than me, was just like my son when he was in school. There were things that he struggled with and he got frustrated with it. When he didn't understand, he got frustrated. And that frustration comes out as anger in the boys of my family. That's how they process frustration. Step into somebody else's shoes doesn't mean I've been there and I know and this is not a big deal. That means I know that you process things different than I do. I'm trying to see things from your perspective. A good way to do that is the phrase, help me understand. This one used to get under my skin so much, but it does work. Help me understand, because by saying help me understand, you're saying explain to me your perspective and why you feel this way, or why this affected you this way, or why you decided to do this versus that. So stepping into somebody else's shoes, whether it's professional or personal. Professional, it's, I was in this meeting and they said XYZ. Step into somebody else's shoes. If you haven't been reprimanded in front of folks yet, bless you. But understand that somebody who was just reprimanded in front of folks is not okay, and they process things different. So step into their shoes and understand that they might need a minute, even though for you it might not be a big deal. Catch the mood of the room. We hear all the time now. Read the room, read the room, read the room. This one's hard for me because I do care what people think. And so my brain is extremely capable of creating a worst case scenario before anything ever happens. If you'd have caught me even 10 years ago and told me that 10 years from now, you're going to be on a stage in the middle of a room talking to 4 folks in person and a handful of them virtual, I'd have told you, I ain't doing it. I'm a talker by nature. I've said it many times. This is what I do. This is what I enjoy. Emotional intelligence is something that I'm passionate about. But if you'd have told me I'd be standing in the middle of a room that only had 4 human beings in it and a handful of them online, I'd have said, nope, ain't doing it. Because I work with these folks in this room and I see them every day. And I'm getting real good at reading folks' face. And so it would make me nervous because my brain says, oh God, okay. They're going to think you're annoying. They're going to think you're stupid. They're going to think you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't even gotten up there to say it. Why are you going to get up there to talk to people you see every day and risk them going, this was stupid and this is 2 hours of my life I can't get back? My brain wouldn't let me do it. At the same time, I also know that there's a handful of folks online whose faces I can't see. So worst case scenario goes times 10 in my head going, I guarantee you all these people are rolling their eyes at me, or they're going, oh my God, can I just log off of this? Do I have to be here? I don't want to listen to this. This is enough. Can y'all please make her shut up? That's how I would have functioned 10 years ago. I didn't read the room well because I didn't give myself the chance to get in the room to read it. I'm a little better with that now because I enjoy it. And so I still care what y'all think, but I also know that I have something valuable to say, and I let that kind of override the fact that I'm terrified that somebody might not like it. That's how it's always been, right? I want everybody to like me. So read the room. If you get in the middle of a room, even if you're in a meeting that you're not presenting at, if you're in the middle of a room and you see all these faces that are like, oh God, then you know that whatever that subject is that we're talking about is either A, the bane of somebody else's existence, they don't want to hear it, or something that means we're going to have to make a change and nobody really wants to do that. We've been in those rooms too, lots of those rooms. So read the room and understand that if you're doing something or if somebody else is doing something, that's that social awareness. Somebody else is doing something that everybody else is not really a fan of. Keep that in mind as things are happening and learn to read those around you. It's also social awareness, understanding that these people I'm in this room with all process things differently. And his annoyed face might mean he's annoyed at this, but his annoyed face might mean that he brought things from outside from home that he's got weighing on his mind too. And he might not be annoyed at this, but he's annoyed at life today, right? So just keep that in mind whenever you're learning those things about the people around you. And again, this is both at work and at home. This can be taken wherever you go as far as self and social awareness. But everything reverts back to self first. You can go to the next one, Brad. So again, recognize your ripple. This is something I will always stand on. And as cliche as it is, everything you do affects everything that you do. And everything that you do affects everybody around you, because there are people that are intertwined in every piece of your life, personally and professionally, alone, at work, at home, at your mama's, on vacation, all the things. Your emotions drive your decisions drive that effect. You have the opportunity to choose what kind of ripple you want to have. You can decide how you want your ripple to go, but it starts with us first. Emotions are contagious. I don't know if anybody recognizes that. Some people do. Some people don't realize it until I point it out. But emotions are contagious. A lot of people have kids. I'm sure people online have kids. I have kids. Mine's 9 now. He's not in daycare, but he is in public school. God help all of us. Anybody who has children of any age that's been in any kind of public setting, you know that the second you send your kid to church nursery or to daycare or to public school especially, they're going to bring home whatever it is that they pick up in that environment. And then what happens? Your kid brings it home. While you're making them better, you catch the germ, then you're sick. Somebody else has got to take care of you. They get sick taking care of you. And it circulates through the house until you use enough Clorox and Lysol to kill the germ and get it out. Emotions are the same way. Everybody knows somebody who can walk into a room and the whole room goes, ugh. On the other end, everybody knows somebody that can walk into a room and they're like, oh, they're here. I'm glad they're here. Whatever, for whatever reason. Emotions are contagious. And if you take the negative with you, it's going to spread just like a germ, just like a positive will. You have the ability to affect what your ripple is. What you do today affects everything that you do going forward. It also affects what people know of you later on. My granddaddy was 95 years old when he died 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. I was sitting in a meeting at work with a group of managers, and we were talking about work ethic, and we were talking about what the younger generations can take from the older generations that are on site. So you got these generations that are all getting ready to retire, and they're right there, but we've got these young, new 20-something college babies that are coming in at the same time. These are 2 different generations that came from 2 different worlds. My granddaddy, I was lucky to have my first job and work under him for a long time. We didn't have cell phones and computers and the technology that we have today. He built his business, and he built his business's name by getting in the community and building his reputation and making that rapport with those people. And to the day that he died, his shop didn't make any money by that point. But he still had people that were regulars of his that would come back to his shop every winter and get their boat winterized for the winter, and then come back every spring and get it ready for the lake because people knew him. And sitting in a meeting with managers, most of which I didn't know and hadn't met, I never said his name, but as soon as I put his face up on the screen, somebody said, I have a story about your granddaddy. They knew who my granddaddy was. They knew who his children were. They knew who his wife was because of the name that my granddaddy made, because of the ripple that my granddaddy made sure he had a part of, and he knew what he wanted that ripple to create. You have the ability to change the ripple that you're going to leave. If somebody had to write your obit tomorrow, would you be okay with what they had to say about you? There are some things I'd be like, yeah, cool, write that up. But I know that there are some things that I'd be like, please don't put that in there. Can we not write that up? Please don't put that, in a book about me. Can you not tell people that? Negative emotions decrease productivity. They increase tension. They increase conflict. They erode job satisfaction. Somebody who doesn't want to be there and has a negative attitude they're obviously not satisfied, but it's going to erode that satisfaction around everybody else. Question?
Wanda in the chat said negative emotions can be team killers.
They absolutely can. And that's that germ effect. It spreads. especially if you have that negativity from the top down. So we all know that everything rolls downhill. Most of the time, by the time we get a task, it's because it's gone through 5 other people before it gets to us. Somebody way up here told their people we need to make this happen, who went and told their people that we got to make this happen, who then delegated it out and said, this is what we got to do, and y'all are the people who are going to do it. So everything's been downhill. Negativity is the same. But it doesn't have to come from the top to affect the team. If one person in your team, it's just like the what is it, the rotten apples analogy. If you got one rotten apple in the bottom of a barrel, the rest of them are going to be rotten too. You have to get the negativity and the rotten apple out of the barrel so that your other apples don't spoil. It's the same concept. Positive emotions on the opposite side, increase attitude, team dynamic. They increase job performance. They increase creativity. They inspire and motivate others. They help build a more cohesive team. That's not saying that your entire team is going to come in and be sunshine and rainbows and unicorns every day. That is not how teams function. We all know that. But when you can decrease the negativity and increase the positive emotions and understand how your team functions, understand where they fall on that compass, understand how they respond to stress, understand how they understand things. Charles and I know we understand things different. I know he understands numbers in Excel sheets. I don't, and I don't like them. But he also knows that I understand how somebody feels about something, whether somebody feels included. You got all this whole page worth of numbers, but you got this one over here that wasn't included in those numbers, right? We balance each other. We know that we work well together, but I also know that he processes things different than I do. He analyzes things where I feel them. And that might not seem like a significant thing, but it affects how we make decisions. It affects how we do our job. It affects how we talk to people. So it's important to understand that. Emotions are a powerful tool that we have the ability to use in our favor. It's a tool to use. They can be changed, they can be built. It's a skill and it's a tool. To fully understand your ripple, you have to take the time to understand and reflect both on your behavior and your motivations to that behavior. Again, the why you do things you do. Analyze the why of everything you do in a day. What motivated you to act that way? What motivated you to say that thing? What motivated you to drive that way? I drove that way because there was no school traffic and I could go around all of it. That's what motivated me to go that way, right? What motivated you to make that decision? My boss told me she needed a decision by the end of the day, and I had to make one, and that's the one I made based on the information that I had. The better you understand how your ripple affects those around you, the better you can choose the ripple that you want to create. If you're not happy with the ripple that you are creating right now, because all of us, whether we want to admit it or not, are currently in the middle of a ripple. It's just what stage of that ripple are you in? Are you sinking or have already sunk to the bottom and you can't see the ripples anymore? Or did you just get thrown in the middle of the lake and your ripples are starting to show now? You can change where you are. You can change the outcome of where you are. But you have to be able to reflect and understand your behaviors and your motivations for those behaviors to understand the ripple effect that it has. And understanding the ripple will help you understand the team that you work with at home, at work, online, wherever they are, and understand how your team can work better together. If you know that this person is the bad apple, then you have to work on getting the bad apple out of the barrel. That's not saying let them go, and not saying fire them, don't come for me. It's not what I said. But you have to understand why that apple went bad so fast, so that the other apples around you didn't and don't continue to do the same thing. Yes? No? Everybody happy with that? See, I care what y'all think. So, two things to remember. My grandmother taught me a long time ago, if you want to inspire people, then be inspiring. Be the example. Do the things you want others to see you doing. And remember that what you are not changing, you are choosing. Emotional intelligence can be changed regardless of where you are on the spectrum if you want to go to a different place. And if you are not changing it, you are choosing to stay stuck where you are. If you're okay with that, then be okay with that. If you're not okay with where you are, change it. Otherwise, you're choosing to be stuck, which is going to make those around you stuck at the same time. That's all I got.
Well, thank you, Kaci. That was fantastic.
You're welcome. Any more
Uh,
questions?
Probably. Let me check. Ruth says, thank you so much. I enjoyed every minute of today's presentation.
You're welcome. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Questions from
Oh, are you
the
taking
chat
too?
or questions you want to open your mic and just ask a question? Nick says, excellent presentation.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I got
None.
something. I'm the Wanda. And I sit across from Casey on the other side of the wall. But Casey, I really appreciated this tonight. I haven't been to one of these meetings in a while. It's been probably because I was out on short-term disability from March to September 24. So I haven't been in a long time. And I just want you to know, like, a lot of the stuff that you said, it made me think just sitting here listening and pondering a lot of things. So I really appreciate, I knew it would be good, but I wasn't expecting to get as much as I got out of it. But it's a lot of stuff that will really make you think as far as being a team player from manager level on down to a regular employee. And it just makes sense, everything that you said.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
From the chat, Manon says, excellent presentation, very informative.
I can see him now.
Any more questions or comments?
I have one. Do you have or know of a tool that that you would use to try to help somebody recognize their core values? Because I know that was one of your talking points up there.
I don't have one off the top of my head. I know that there is an assessment. There is a self-assessment. I'll see if I can find that and send it to y'all so that y'all can make that available for them. But there is a self-assessment as far as core values goes, that I'm pretty sure is just a free version. But it takes a few minutes, one of those more in-depth ones that takes, 15 to 20 minutes, give or take, 25 seconds, depending on how much you want to spend on it. But I'll see if I can find the one that I did on core values, and I'll send it to y'all so that y'all can make it available for everybody.
Any more questions or comments?
So I want to say thank you, Casey. I know I made a bit of a joke at the beginning about it's not all about spreadsheets, and sometimes it's about just the people too. But you kind of helped drive that home tonight. So I appreciate you bringing us back to the human side of things. And
Absolutely.
a lot
I'm an
about- a lot
amiable.
about
That's what we do.
systems. That's right. And I don't even mind being an example. So all right.
It's all out of love because I'm an amiable. And I know that you don't mind if I use you as an example.
Manon in the chat says, thank you, Kaci. Might see you again at PMI Augusta Aiken chapter meeting.
That's the hope.
Little cross-pollination between AACE and PMI.
Understand that.
Well, any more questions? Well, I'm sure you all join with me in thanking Kaci Prouty for being such a wonderful presenter this evening. It was very informative. You are a great speaker, and you need to not listen to those fears. Get out and do this more. You're good at it. And
I appreciate that. Thank
we're
you.
grateful that you came and spoke to us this evening. So thank you very much. Switching gears, if I could just take a moment to tell you about what's upcoming in our chapter. We have a presentation coming up March 13. Lisa Coleman from Savannah Riverside is going to be speaking on risk. Her title is Risk, Impacts, and Responses. Oh my. April 17, 2025, we have Roger Duke with the Return Engagement. He spoke to us last year. He's coming back to speak on Opportunity Knocks, focus on positive risks and elevate performance. And we're still working on our May 8th presentation. We have somebody who's saying they want to come speak, but we're right on the edge of securing them, so I don't have a name to announce or a topic just yet. But we are so grateful that you join us. I noticed 15 were logged in online. 14 made it till the end. So that's a testament to how engaging you were, Kaci. So not a handful, 3 handfuls. All right, big thumbs up from Kaci. So with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us. You all have a great evening wherever you are, and we hope you'll join us again next month. Please tell a friend and go out and check out the videos that we are amassing 3 so far. This makes 4 on our YouTube channel if you'd like to see some of the other talks we've had in the past. Have a great evening, everybody. Bye.